Hi sir, could you explain me about the present attack on tribals by the police officers, by the police and the armed police
in Chhattisgarh?
Yeah.
See, my own feeling is that Bastar. I mean, if one has to go little historical background, not only Bastar, but tribals of this country enjoyed certain autonomy during the even British period. They were called excluded regions. British did not interfere either in their culture or in their lifestyle. And if anything, they wanted to understand them, therefore they invited anthropologists of a very high eminence in order to look into the whole question. That's how Elvin, Emmendorf, all of them came and studied tribals. Now, 1949, 26th January, when Constitution of India was adopted, without any participation or without any consultation, we have imposed most of the colonial laws on the tribals of this country, who neither were a part of the freedom movement nor were involved in the freedom struggle. And suddenly, their laws, they have their own custom, they have their own tradition, they have their own way of life. But suddenly they were brought into the Indian Union without much of negotiations. That the northeastern regions of that tribals enjoy relative autonomy. Even today, for example, in Mizoram and Nagaland, you need an inner line permit and nobody can buy the land. No. I mean, in other words, their culture, their autonomy was relatively more protected. But if you look at the tribals of central India, you find that they have been brought with the result. There is an increasing conflict between the Indian state and the legal system and their own tribal chiefs, their own culture, their own tradition. This is one set of problems you find with almost the entire tribal belt, what today we call Red Corridor. The second thing, what happened, the model of development that we have adopted, the way we want to develop India and growth driven model. Although initially, I would say from 1947 to 1980s, maybe the tribals, there was an unrest among the tribals, but from 1980s, the problem has become very, very sharp. And you find that the Bastar, which was otherwise very peaceful, B.D. Sharma was the collector of Bastar 40 years back, and when he recalls the Bastar that he was a governor of a larger Bastar, seven, today perhaps there are 7 districts. Now he was the one who identified himself with the tribals. He lived with them and he tried to address the real problems of the tribals. Now from 1980s, when we have this mining policy, particularly from 1991, when we went for globalization, see, the tragedy of the tribals of this country that they live in the areas where we have rich mineral resources, be it Orissa, be it Chhattisgarh, or be it Gadchiroli, the whole belt. So, for example, in Orissa, the total estimated worth of bauxite is 140 lakh crores. And in Chhattisgarh, right now they say that there are 44,000 crores wealth in certain areas. Now, when you enter, your mining policy is such that the tribal neither is a part of that, nor you have a proper rehabilitation policy, nor you upgrade their skills. They live on the forest economy, and there is a close interrelation between nature and the tribal, so therefore nature sustains them and they sustain the nature. That's how they live for centuries there. But today, we enter that model of development, not even the Indian state, but the multinationals and our corporate sector enters. And in our what you call the growth, the major shape is from the mining. What type of mining you go? You go for a mining where you take raw material and sell it in the international market. No developing country, after 60 years of independence, will sell raw material. See, after all, we fought against the East India Company, then we fought against the British because they were exploiting our resources, and we wanted independent India so that we can plan and we can have a future where the excluded sections, tribal, Dalits, our marginalized sections of society would be part of the development. But that's what independence means. But instead, from 90s we reverted back to pre-1947 position, where now you are allowing the multinational just to come and mine, and when they mine, particularly with the modern technology, you mine very fast, and they don't require much of labor force. It's not even like the mining of coal, where thousands of you, if you look at Singareni, about a lakh people were employed in Singareni. Their living conditions have changed. By and large, you find that the agricultural labor who moved into mining, like Singareni, their conditions are better. They are paid better, and their children are going to school. Although there is a problem of liquor and all that, but by and large, you find that they came into the modern sector. In the case of Bastar, Orissa, Gadchiroli, Central Bihar, the entire belt, you find today they have to go evict the tribal, occupy the land, and mine, because they can't be accommodated in the model of development. They want to evict them, and I think tribals are going on saying, we have been here for thousands of years, and who are you? Why have you come here? Why do you want mine, and what about us? Now in Chhattisgarh, in fact, this reached a very sharp, what we call a flashpoint. Because Chhattisgarh tribals, they have a long history of struggle, and Chhattisgarh, even the Raja of Chhattisgarh, even after independence, was a member of the parliament, stood by the Chhattisgarh tribals and fought. Therefore he was killed. Now, therefore, the Chhattisgarh has that struggle, and therefore they are questioning the entire policy. Now, if you look at the latest incident, a number of things are happening. Just you go and there is a tribal meet, and you go dead night, and you fire at the people who are gathered there, either with information or with the misinformation, whatever might be the answer, or whatever might be the explanation from the police. The fact of the matter is that they have gone in dead night. There was a gathering, and they fired. Now the firing has been so reckless and so random that women died, children died, innocent tribals died. Now, if you say that there was a Maoist meeting, even assuming that Maoist convened a meeting, how do you deal with it? See, you go in such a way that if there are armed squads, you try to single out them and all that. You do not go and fire from different directions, and knowing that there are tribals who gathered there, and all tribals who gather in a particular meeting cannot be Maoists. Even if assuming that the Maoists organized a meeting, tribals are attending, you should know that even if you are fighting with the Maoists, but there are tribals, innocent tribals, it could be even politically conscious tribals, but the Constitution of India, Indian legal system, does not permit the police to fire at a meeting, at a random, where tribal and, let's say, Maoists are sitting and talking, or they are discussing something. See, the whole freedom movement was triggered after Jallianwala Bagh. The major triggering point was that when you fired at the unarmed people in Jallianwala Bagh, that's what led to the whole freedom struggle, and Gandhi entered the freedom movement. 1920, 1919 was Jallianwala Bagh. But there has been a long history that you just go and fire the unarmed people, particularly in Chhattisgarh. See, this is happening frequently because they want to terrorize, they want to frighten the tribal, and they become terribly insecure. When ordinary people start, the children, 7 or 8 children died. They're all school children, and the teachers said that they were very bright children, and they had a lot of promise. And these tribal children were planning to become doctors, IAS officers, and they have their own dreams. Now when the teachers are saying that these boys wanted to become an IAS officer or a boy wanted to become a doctor, no, he was not willing to take a weapon and fight. The children's dream was not to go and fight and all that, but they wanted to, climb, and they wanted to come out of their condition. They wanted to come to modern professions. Now such dreams have been shattered. Now, see, what you have to today think about is the current state, which derives its power from the law and the Constitution of India, can violate entire law and fire. Now, what is our complaint against the Maoists? The complaint against the Maoists is that their weapon is illegal, it's an unlawful group, right? And they resort to violence, and therefore Indian state says the only way to bring back the order is to see that this unlawful, group or unlawful gun, it stops. They stop the struggle. Now, if you say that the state is in a superior position because it is bound by the law and it derives the power from the law. Now, Maoists may derive the power from their ideology, but the state derives its power from the law. If they fight for their ideology, you are fighting for your law. Your uniform, your weapon, your entire force is governed by certain legal framework. Now, if you give up that law and resort to the type of firing that you have done in Bastar, how can you call Maoist weapon an unlawful weapon and your weapon is a lawful weapon? You are accountable when you fire. Now, obviously, the inference is that knowing fully well that innocent people are there, you go and fire so that the whole area gets frightened. And that's what they have done earlier through Salvajur, by dividing the tribal, and they went and burnt the huts. One village, 300 huts were burnt at one point. Why are you burning the huts of the tribal? If it's a fight against the Maoists, if there is an encounter, confrontation, Maoists die or the police die, that's a different story. But why do you want to burn the tribal huts? And if you are saying that the Maoists are misleading the tribals or whatever, then your struggle is with the Maoists. Now, if the tribals are really with them, then you have to ask a question why tribals are supporting the movement. Now, if the tribals are supporting that movement, somewhere we have gone wrong, and you have to win over the tribals. And how do you win over the tribals? You win over the tribals by making them a part of your development. By, instead of making them a part of the development, now you want to evict them. Burning huts, if you are raping women, if you are firing, at random the people, it appears, Indian state feels, that if the Bastar tribals, by some force or another, if they can leave Bastar, they might have come to Khammam, they might have migrated to different parts, then you see it becomes empty. You can see that the tribals have gone, and then the national can go and mine. I think that is where the crux of the problem lies. This happened in Orissa also, and both the chief ministers, we met Orissa chief minister, we met Chhattisgarh chief minister. We spent quite a bit of time. We have been asking them this question, that what is your mining policy? Now you are allowing the raw material to be just mined, by these reckless, MNCs. Why? Since aluminium is such a precious metal, that from the fighter planes to utensils, the aluminium has a range of, and it's a quality bauxite. It's not just ordinary, but it's a quality bauxite. You can start manufacturing industry, absorb, as it happened in Europe, when agrarian economy became industrial. Labor moved to the industry. That's why today in Europe, agriculture may have 5%, in America only 3% of the population on the agriculture, rest of they are on the industry or service sector. In India, neither you bring them into modern economy, nor the modern industry absorbs them, nor you can give them any rehabilitation policy, but you want to uproot them from their life from the forest, with which their life is completely entangled, and then you resort to this reckless fighting and tell the rest of the nation that you are fighting the Maoist movement is a dreadful movement and all that. What perhaps Indian state has to answer, what Kishore Chandra Dev, objected to, and the question that he raised, is a minister. Is a minister, is a part of the present cabinet, and he is asking this question, that how can you go and fire at unarmed people? Why have you gone in midnight? No, why have no, see, the Indian state, does this type of, who is accountable for that? If tribals are with the Maoists, now how do you explain and how do you account for their support? And if you want to rescue the tribals from the Maoist movement, how can you do that if you resort to the reckless fight? And what about your mining policy? And he also raises this question: if you go on allowing the multinationals to mine recklessly your mineral wealth, nothing will be left for the future of the country. And you have to preserve this very precious resource not only for this generation but for coming generations. Now, in other words, one generation out of maybe 800 or 900 generations that we have passed through wants to completely exploit the natural resources, leave nothing. The earlier 800 generations, if they have left these resources for our generation, one generation wants to sell everything and have your 9.5% rate of growth and approve the tribals, and once you exhaust these mineral resources, where are you going? I mean, all other countries are preserving their minerals and you are just selling the raw material without even developing your manufacturing industry. I think the crisis is the crisis of the model of development. The very model of development, I think this model is what Stiglitz called is a rootless model, and it's a rootless model, is a model which does not give the employment, and therefore it has become rootless. That's why I call it's a brutal path of development. It's a brutal path of development because it needs a lot of brutality to evict people, and otherwise even the Schedule 5 of the Indian Constitution gives a lot of rights to the tribal. Governors are extraordinary because when we were drafting the Constitution, there were also tribal struggles preceding the independence, and because there were certain tribal struggles, Constitution of India acknowledged it. And therefore you have Schedule 5 and Schedule 6. Even in Article 19 there is a protection to the tribal. But you ignore the entire legal framework, and you have an Indian Penal Code, Criminal Procedure Code, which guides the police force. Even that you ignore. And then you go and fire and then say that there were Maoists, therefore whatever you have done, you enjoy an impunity. And there is no punishment, there is no trial, and there is no evidence. And in the process, Chhattisgarh problem therefore is not merely what happened just 4 or 5 days back, but I think it's a part of a long drawn struggle of the tribal. Maoists are, yes, they are there, but to completely equate the Bastar tribals with the Maoist movement is completely to damn the tribals of Bastar. They are fighting for their resources, for their culture, for their livelihood, and for their resources, and Maoists are there with them. But to say that it's only Maoist struggle and tribals of Bastar have nothing to do, I think it's completely misleading the country of what is happening there. So I think the incident has to be contextualized and historicized, and if we try to understand what happened in Bastar in isolation, without the context and background, I think we are likely to come to wrong conclusions. So what we have observed, for example, when we went for negotiations, and when we went to forest twice, because this time it involved going to, when we went quite a 30-40 kilometers inside. But I have not seen a single, boy, a single child, under 5, having any dress. It is 100% naked. Right, 100% they are naked. You can see that Tarun's photograph. There is a photograph of a naked child having a radio. Now and that mawa, flower that is used for eating, that is their food. They prepare a drink from that. Complete life of the Bastar tribal revolves around that mawa. If you remove that, their oxygen has gone. And see, the life of the people is woven around the local tribal economy. I think if we have thought that modernity and your growth driven model will bring prosperity to India,